Hey, have you been considering retiring in the Okanagan and Kelowna BC is one of your top choices? Then this video is a must watch. I'm going to teach you everything about retirement living in this beautiful BC city and teach you about the various options of 55 plus communities in Kelowna BC. So let's get right into it. All right, so first of all, why do I believe Kelowna is a great place to retire? Well, for starters, it's incredibly beautiful. If I could think of anywhere that I'd want to settle in Canada, Kelowna would definitely be one of my top choices. I don't have to live here, I choose to live here. So to me, I think it's a no-brainer that you'd want to spend the rest of your life in a place as beautiful as this. Also, Kelowna has a ton of resources for the retirement age. They have a ton of 55 plus communities, great resources in terms of outreach for nursing, for pharmacies. They have an amazing hospital in Kelowna General Hospital. And they also have several options for supported living, from independent living to assisted living to long-term care. Also, Kelowna is an amenity-rich city, especially where the 55 plus communities are situated. There's great access to healthcare, to restaurants, to food, to nature, to shopping, to golf, and really everything you need in life. Another huge plus about living in this area, especially if you're going to be settling down in Canada, is that Kelowna and the Okanagan have extremely mild winters. I know how hard it was for my grandparents and other people's grandparents that I knew growing up out east, especially when they started to age. I mean, it's hard enough to survive in -30, -40 winters for 8 months of the year as it is. So coming to a place where winter generally lasts about 4 months, you have late summers, early springs, and the average seasonal temperature for winter hovers around 0 degrees. It's a lot more manageable than dealing with the harsh realities of the weather out east. Now, just a quick note, you do have to consider the inverse of that, because in the summers, they tend to get really hot. So when you're considering a place to live, whether it be a facility, independent living, your own single family home, and you're looking to retire here, if you're from out east and you're not used to having AC, make sure you invest in a good AC unit if your home doesn't have one. I think it's an absolute must in this area. I'm sure some people can tough it out and survive it, especially if you're just naturally cold all the time. But we do generally have a good heat wave for a couple of weeks in the summer, just like we have a cold snap in the winter. And I couldn't imagine going through it without an AC unit. And another reason why I think Kelowna is a great place to retire is just we have a very relaxed lifestyle here. Whether you want to hang out on the beach, go for a walk on the Mission Greenway, spend your days golfing, or venturing through the Okanagan and hitting up all the wineries, restaurants, and beautiful scenery throughout the area. I just feel that the lifestyle that the Okanagan cultivates is a very relaxed one. And although I believe our age demographics are starting to change and we have a lot of younger people moving to this area, I still think this is a perfect place to retire. Now, an important thing to consider, I believe, when you retire in an area like this is where the location of your property that you're going to purchase and live in is going to be. Because yeah, you can save money going on the more outskirts of town, going to the smaller towns, and those are also fantastic options. But if you're thinking for the long term, you believe that this is going to be the last property that you're going to invest in and live in, you might want to consider where it's located and how central it is to certain amenities that you might need now or in the future. That's why if you'll see on this map here, you'll notice that a lot of the 55 plus communities are located in the central areas of Kelowna. You'll see a few 55 plus communities located in the lower Mission, a good amount in Glenmore, but the majority of the communities are going to be in the Kelowna South area. And now if you've seen my previous videos, I believe Kelowna South is one of the most diverse neighborhoods in all of Kelowna, and I think it has some of the best access to amenities, especially when you're not just considering restaurants, bars, and that downtown lifestyle. I'm talking about long-term care facilities, independent care facilities, pharmacies, direct access to healthcare with the Kelowna General Hospital. And they also have the Pandosy area that's going to have doctor's offices, dental clinics, hairdressers, groceries, and various healthcare specialists. So you can really get all your needs fulfilled in a very short distance. Now, like I said, there are also great options in the Rutland area, deep into the West Bank Center. And you know, West Bank Center has its own amenity-rich area in downtown West Bank. Not quite as good as Kelowna South, but still, they situate the 55 plus communities out there because they are close to the amenities of West Kelowna, and you can generally get more affordable options out that way, but you are a bit of a ways from the Kelowna General Hospital. And there's also several options in Vernon, Lake Country, Peachland, down to Penticton, but I'm more here to discuss the immediate communities within Kelowna. So now, when looking at 55 plus communities, we're gonna go over 5 options. Those options are 55 plus condos, 55 plus townhouses, 55 plus single family detached homes, retirement living communities, and of course, supported living facilities. So starting out with condos, generally a 55 plus condo isn't too different from a regular condo. You're gonna have strata fees that sometimes pay for water and general maintenance of the building. They'll also pay for facility access if the condo you're choosing has additional facilities like a gym, a swimming pool, or a hot tub. The only real difference is that it's going to have a 55 plus age restriction. Now in BC, because of the new regulations, only one of the people living and purchasing the unit have to be 55 plus or older. So if your partner is not quite at that age, you can still get into most condos within Kelowna. And there are a ton of great options for 55 plus condos here in Kelowna. Some noteworthy mentions are the Kiwanis Towers, which is just past Highway 97 in North Kelowna, right off of Bernard, which is a great central location. It's a beautiful building. You have the Marquee, which is not too far from that, just off of Lawrence Avenue. And then just south of the highway, right off of Sutherland, you're gonna have the Colonial, which is probably one of the most popular and honestly one of the most affordable 55 plus condo complexes in all of Kelowna. Then looking at 55 plus townhomes, again, you have several options. And townhomes are generally gonna be row houses. They're going to be attached. The strata fees are gonna cover general maintenance of the facility, snow removal, garbage removal, maintenance of the common property or the limited common property you share with the other strata residents, and of course any additional facilities you may have. I've seen some places with tennis courts, paddleball courts, libraries. And if you're unfamiliar with townhouse strata, essentially you own the unit. It's a freehold property and your responsibility is for everything that's located within the walls of your strata unit. Like with condos, you're going to have a set of bylaws and rules and regulations that you must abide by when living in the strata complex. You're going to have a strata council that's elected democratically, and they create a board and people get voted in, people get voted out. And you'll have periodic strata meetings, and when issues arise, you guys will vote on how to solve these problems. And also you will vote on how to divvy up and spend the budget. Now, like I said, separate from a single family dwelling or a bare land strata, with a strata townhouse complex, you're responsible for, like I said, everything within the walls of the strata unit, especially if you're in row housing. Generally, everything on the outside of the strata, from windows to roof to the siding, is going to be managed and paid for by the strata complex. So part of your strata fees are going to go into a contingency reserve fund, and when items become due, like roofing, siding, or windows, the strata council will use that money in the contingency reserve fund to fix these issues. But be aware that sometimes there isn't enough money in the contingency reserve fund, or instead of draining the entire reserve of the fund to leave nothing left to pay for insurance and general maintenance, there will sometimes be a levy due, and it will be voted on. So it's not just going to come out of nowhere. The strata council will vote on a levy, and then at times you will have to pay a levy of a couple $1,000s. Sometimes it can be a little more, sometimes it can be a little less, and that will become due, and that will go to the maintenance of whatever item that you guys are going to remedy. And some notable 55 plus townhouse complexes in a great area are 950 Franco, which is in Kelowna South, and it's at 950 Franco. Not very creative in the naming. You have Chartwell in Glenmore at 680 Valley Road. And Glenmore has a few of these 55 plus communities, and a lot of your options there are actually really nice. And then just in the Kelowna South area, you have Springbrook Gardens, another fantastic 55 plus townhouse option. Now, so far we've gone over condos, we've gone over townhouses, and those are incredibly low maintenance, which could be, if you're getting to retirement age or you're elderly, might be the goal of everything, to downsize, to have little or no maintenance, and some of these options are going to be among the best. But if you're just getting up to that 55 plus age, maybe your partner isn't even 55 plus yet, you've been living in a single family detached home in Kelowna or wherever you're coming from your entire life, but your house is just a little too big, your kids have all left, it feels empty, and it's just starting to get too much to manage. You don't feel like cutting the grass or shoveling the snow in the driveway, then our next option is probably going to be one of the best options for you. And that is, of course, going to be the 55 plus gated communities that have single family detached homes. So essentially what these homes are, they're called bare land strata. So unlike a strata townhouse where you're responsible for everything inside of the walls of your unit, in a bare land strata single family detached home, you're responsible for everything within your lot. So it operates just like a tight-knit community neighborhood. You still run by a set of bylaws and rules and regulations that you have to abide by within the strata. You still have strata fees or HOA fees depending on where you're from, and those will generally go to any additional amenities that you have in terms of rec facilities, and also snow removal, garbage, and anything else your particular strata complex shares in terms of common property. Everything else will run very similar to regular strata or condo townhouse. But the nice part about these is you have the feeling of your property is your own. You know, sometimes the downsides of being in a townhouse strata in a 55 plus community or anything else is you could have someone attached to each side of your walls. Whereas in a bare land strata, single family detached home, you have your own lot, not unlike any other neighborhood that you visit. The nice thing about it is it feels like a very tight-knit community. It's 55 plus communities that have bare land strata here are often gated communities, so you have a higher sense of safety. They're generally very well maintained and manicured, and of course that's going to have to do partly to your strata council and making sure everything's ran very well. But I think it's probably the best option for people who are downsizing from a house. They're looking to take that next step on downsizing and having a lot less maintenance, but they're not looking to give up too much. You can still have a garden. A lot of times they'll come with a garage, so you can park your car in it, or if you have a little tool shop in your garage, you still have that freedom to do so. But generally it's just a simpler and more manageable lifestyle. And Kelowna does have some fantastic options in terms of these single family detached, but some of the best options I've seen are the Sandstone Complex in Kelowna South, Sandpoint in Glenmore, and Balmoral in Kelowna South. That Balmoral Sandstone Gushigan area has a ton of 55 plus communities, and it's so accessible and has such great access to amenities. That area there in the Gushigan off of Gordon and Gushigan Road has some of the best 55 plus options, I believe, in the entire city. So next we're moving on to retirement living communities. Now I separate these from supported living because this is more of a retirement living lifestyle rather than the need for assistance. And the best example I can give you for this is just off of Gordon in the Lower Mission in the Mission Villas. So how this operates is it's a tight-knit gated community where your strata fees are significantly higher than a normal strata, up to $2,000 in some instances. But that goes to a few things, from your regular strata fees, which are going to pay for road maintenance, garbage removal, snow removal, to a portion of that going to your monthly dining bill. So in certain places you get a certain amount of meals per week, weekly housekeeping, utilities, basic cable, telephone and internet, scheduled transportation, and 24-hour emergency services. So when you live in a community like this, you realistically don't have to worry about a thing. This to me is like the high-end resort style living experience. They even have an additional fee for parking that has valet service. So this is almost more like staying at a luxury resort hotel than a retirement community. But to me, areas like this are specifically for someone who doesn't want to think about anything, someone who can purchase a place but also pay for the hefty lifestyle fees, and realistically someone who just wants to have everything taken care of for them so they can just focus on enjoying their life. And now lastly, we're going to move on to supported living facilities. So these are a mixture of independent living, assisted living, and long-term care facilities. Generally, most of the places that have assisted living are also going to have a blend of independent living. They're going to have a section where it's more independent living, so you're in a 55 plus communities, usually more of a condo style living arrangement. There might be some additional services that you can purchase in terms of medical, housekeeping, or meal preparation, but generally it's very independent. You operate like a regular 55 plus condo, but then they have a section that's more of the assisted living side. And generally, if you get into one of these complexes, you live in the independent living side first, and when living in the independent side, it kind of bumps you up on the list to the assisted living side. So when it is time to do that transfer, you have a lot less wait time. And now assisted living is obviously going to be facilities that have often shared meals, planned recreational and social activities, as well as often assistance with transportation, medication, and like I said, food. And then the next step after that is long-term care facilities. Now these are facilities that kind of take care of everything from your medical needs to your nutrition, to your food, to your exercise, all your general doctor visits, and usually the staff is comprised of nurses and care workers. This is kind of the full service thing. This is generally when you usually have some ailing health issues and you're just not able to take care of yourself any longer. So some fantastic options for the independent and assisted living blend are going to be places like the Dorchester, which is right downtown on Leon, and then also Hawthorne Park, which is just off of KLO right across from the college, which to me I think is a fantastic location. And then when you're looking at long-term care facilities, one of the best and most central places in all of Kelowna is going to be Cottonwoods, which is in the Kelowna South area. It's a stone's throw away from the Kelowna General Hospital. And they just announced that they have future plans to redevelop that building to add a lot more resources and amenities to it. Now, some additional things you want to consider if you're moving into 55 plus communities, you're looking to come here to retire, especially when purchasing a property, is first of all, you might want to learn a little bit about probate. Now, hopefully the property you purchase or want doesn't have to go through any type of probate or power of attorney, but it's good to know about these things getting into it. Because unfortunately, a lot of the for sales in these 55 plus communities tend tend to have probate attached to the sale. Now, essentially, probate is the legal process of fulfilling the will. So if a parent that owns a property passes on, and in their will, they say that the property is sheets to their daughter, and the daughter is looking to sell the property, generally they will start the probate process and put the house up for sale, and you go and visit it, you like the property, you want to purchase it, you can put an offer on the property, remove all of your subjects, but generally the seller will have to put a subject to probate clause in. That is essentially just allowing the legal process and the work they have to do to fulfill probate to make sure the will is correct and legal and enforceable play out, allowing the property to a sheet to the daughter so that she owns the property and she has the legal right to sell it. Now, depending on what stage in the probate process they were when they put the place on the market, this can take sometimes up to 4, even 6 months, depending how complex the probate process is. You know, if there's multiple kids, the kids are in a legal battle over who owns the property. So you just have to know, sometimes getting into this, it's good to have your realtor check in with the listing agent, see what part of the process they are in. These can still be good options because often the person that is going through the probate, whether it's a family member, a kid, brother, a relative, doesn't really want to carry an additional mortgage on their own, so they're looking to unload the property as soon as possible and get it off their hands. Same goes for a power of attorney. When you see on the listing, usually in the rep remarks, your agent will be able to see this, that the seller is the power of attorney for the person who actually owns the property. The first thing you want to clarify, does the person who is selling the property have the legal power of attorney to trade in real estate? Because there are different power of attorneys and you can get into a very complex legal situation if the power of attorney that the person selling the property possesses doesn't allow them to trade in real estate. Sorry, I know I'm getting kind of nuanced and complex here, but these are just issues I think you should be aware of and just have some sort of knowledge about it. Now, besides the more complex things like probate and power of attorneys, something I think you should consider when moving to this area, especially, you know, you're in the retirement age, maybe you're a little older, is getting connected with a general physician here. Now, we have a severe shortage of GPs within the Okanagan. It's probably easier to get into a specialist than it is to have a general GP here. And I consider if you are needing frequent doctor care, that you try to connect with someone as early as possible, get on waiting list, try to establish a rapport at the walk-in clinics, or get referred to a specialist if you need that. Honestly, it can be really difficult. I had my GP leave here kind of out of nowhere. They didn't even send me any notice, and it took me quite some time to finally get another GP. Then also, if you are going to be going to a pharmacy frequently and maybe transportation is a bit difficult for you, most of the pharmacies here do deliver. So make sure with whatever pharmacy you connect with that they offer those services to make your life a little easier. Now, besides all the serious stuff, there is so much to do here, especially at retirement age. Like I kind of mentioned at the beginning, if you're an avid golfer, there are some incredible golf courses and golfing areas around this city, not only in BC, but I believe in all of Canada. So if you're going to spend your days on the course, Kelowna is a perfect option for you. And if you're going to spend your days walking around nature, there's tons of walking trails throughout the city, from the Mission Greenway, the boardwalks, to the tons of hiking trails outside of the city. And if you decide you just want to travel around and explore, then the Okanagan has unlimited options. From the wineries throughout the region in Kelowna, West Kelowna, Naramata, Penticton, Osoyoos, Oliver, West Kelowna, to the incredible lakes in Kalamalka Lake, Lake Okanagan, Skaha Lake, to the beautiful towns in Lake Country, Penticton, Peachland, Summerland. There is a ton of stuff to do here. There are a ton of things to explore. And if you like outdoor activities like tennis and pickleball, the communities here are rampant, especially with pickleball. I know that's just a growing sport and is continuing to get huge in our area, but realistically, there are a ton of options here. It's a beautiful place. I highly recommend checking it out. If you decide that you want to live here, you want to retire here, and if you want some recommendations on what areas are best to live in, what type of living situation is going to best suit your lifestyle, and also even more importantly, what area or living situation is going to absolutely not suit your lifestyle and not be correct for you, well then you got to reach out to me. You can give me a call, text, email at the information on the screen right now, in the description below, and pinned in the comments so you cannot miss it. My job as a relocation specialist is to make your move and transition here as smooth as possible. And I think it's really important you talk to someone who has a local knowledge, but also someone who has relocated here themselves. So I know both sides of the coin. But make sure to reach out anytime and I'll make sure to help you out and find you something that's going to suit your lifestyle perfectly and allow you to enjoy your retirement years in peace. And if you're unfamiliar with this area, make sure you stick around to the end of the video where I'm going to link you to a playlist that's going to have a ton of videos and resources and information on the Okanagan and Kelowna in general, and also a video that gives you a full tour of Kelowna in the different neighborhoods. And if you enjoyed what you saw here today, make sure you subscribe to my channel to learn everything about Kelowna in the Okanagan. Feel free to comment down below and tell me what area you plan to retire in. And again, my name is Boholij, your Okanagan real estate professional and relocation specialist. This is my channel, Living in Kelowna BC, and I will catch you in the next video.